person to become. Welcome, and let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of That Worship Guitar Show. It's really awesome to have you guys here with us. Thanks for joining in, and please let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. It's always good to see our international audience here, and then we also know that some folks end up watching the replay after we've streamed live. So if you are watching the replay, go to the comment section and just comment #replay. It's good for us to know when and where everyone is watching from. Wonderful. So we've got Opido Norman, and he's tuning in from Uganda. Welcome. It's great to have you, a fellow African. So I'm in South Africa. We have a bunch of different countries on the continent of Africa. So I've never been to Uganda, but it's great to see you. Opido, welcome. And we've got Antti from Finland. Antti is one of our members at our Worship Guitar Skills Academy. So welcome, Antti. Always good to see you. Stephen Harris from Edinburgh, Scotland. Welcome, Steve. Great to see you online. And we've got Manuel, another one of our members, tuning in from South Pasadena from the west coast of the US. Welcome, Manuel. Great to see you. We've got Mike Mattingly tuning in from San Francisco. I remember being in San Francisco, I hired a car and driving up and down all the hills there. That was quite an experience. And then getting stuck in traffic on my way to Reading one day. And I spent 2 hours in the city trying to get out and make my way to the Golden Gate Bridge. But that was a fun experience. And so I remember that from that trip down there. So awesome. Welcome, Mike. Great to see you as well. So wonderful. We've got a lot of folks tuning in, and really awesome spending time with you today. So I'm just going to do a quick sound check. Just let me know if you can hear my guitar. And if you can hear that all good, then let me know in the comments as well. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be talking about the wonderful world of delay. We did do a full video on delay as well as reverb. So if you want to get some in-depth looks into all those elements, go ahead and let us know. Or go and check out those videos where we go and look at tone. So Mike is saying audio is good. Antti is saying audio is good. Wonderful. All right, so then we've got a clear checklist here. Everything is rocking and working. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of what we're going to be covering today, you know, tone is a big deal for our playing, regardless of what you are playing, but specifically in church on a Sunday, tone is very important there. Because we all know the saying, it's not just what you say, but it's how you say it, right? So when it comes to communication, when you're talking to a friend, your spouse, whatever the case may be, the way that we communicate ideas is sometimes more important than actually the content of what we are saying. So how does that apply to us as worship guitarists? Well, first of all, when we are playing stuff on a guitar, whether it's a single note, it's not just the note that we are playing, but it's the way that it sounds. And that sound is affected by a number of things. First of all, the gear that you use. So in my case today, I'm plugged into the Kemper. We've got a Line 6 Helix on the floor here. Kennan's got the HX Stomp that he uses with a bunch of other pedals. Sometimes we play through amp, whatever the case may be. But that is the equipment that's going to shape your sound. Then secondly, there's your technique. The better your technique is, the more confidence and trust you can have in your playing. That's going to affect the sound. And then finally, there's there's two more things. There's your head in terms of how you understand theory or how to play parts or how to compose things and how to evoke certain emotions using specific notes in specific cases. So it's understanding the fretboard, right? And then finally, there's your heart attitude. All right, and I believe that if your heart is in a good place, then that is also actually affecting your sound. So as we can see, your tone and your sound is more than just the notes you play, the content. It's the gear that you use and the way that you've got it dialed up with effects, delay, reverb, all those kind of things which we're going to look at today. There's your technique, your physical nature of actually playing on the guitar. If you've got good technique, you're going to trust it. You're going to play with more confidence and conviction. It's going to sound better. There's your understanding of what you are playing on the guitar so that you can make better choices as it relates to what notes to use, what parts to play. And then finally, the condition of your heart. That's going to come through in the sound that we are projecting on a Sunday. And when we work on getting kind of all these things in alignment, then we can make an impact in our playing. So having said all of that, let me know if that all makes sense to you guys, and let me know what, if any, specific challenges you have in creating that sound, and we can go ahead and address that today as well. So I'll keep my eye on the comments and we can check those kind of things out. But today we're going to be focused on our gear elements, and we're going to be looking at some of those deeper things around delay. Now for that, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a demonstration. I'll go ahead and pull up a track here. Let me just get the right track. Okay, there we go. So we're going to jam along to a track, and what I'm going to do is I am going to make sure I'm going to tap my tempo in so that my delays are in sync. But then at some point I'm going to turn my delays off, right? And then just listen to the difference in my playing. I'll also call it out over the mic so that you can see and rather hear when my effects are off. So what I'm going to show you now, this is my kind of go-to sound. And if I turn off my delay and my reverb, then it kind of sounds like that. Big difference, and what we're going to listen to is what that then sounds like in a track, and then how you can go ahead and then use it in your own playing. So I just want to quickly just make sure my tuning is right. Funny story, I've got this Unitune from, I think it's TC Electronics. You guys might have seen me use this before. And I was learning some songs for a Sunday at the house, and I think I might even have restrung my guitar as well. And my kids were playing with a tuner. It's got these lights that are going up and down, and they're fascinated by it and whatnot, singing into it, seeing if it's going to register any notes. And anyway, I took the tuner, I tuned my guitar, went to church, and then something just sounded off, and I thought, wow, there must be something wrong with the keyboard, like the specific patch they use. It sounds like it's a few cents off. And then I thought maybe it's because it was new strings. I still need to stretch them in. And it kind of went on for, I'm sad to say, like a week or two, and then I always thought, what's going on here? Stuff is not sounding right. One day I tried to play something for our members, and I thought there was a sample rate issue. Something is not right because the tuning is not the way it normally is. And long story short, my kids fiddled with some of the buttons, and instead of it being in 440 hertz, they changed it to 435. So it was like 5 cents out. And anyway, finally, Kenan kind of discovered that. And then I was able to, get my tuning in place again and actually have my stuff work in the right way. So that was a funny story. So it's make sure that your tuner is set the right way when you are tuning. So Mike Irving was saying that everything that we've spoken about makes sense. And then he's also asking what profile am I using, and do I use the same profile for all songs when playing live? Right, yeah, so before we dive in, I got my Kemper a couple of years ago, and a few months ago we also got a Line 6 Helix because that allows us to make tones as well. So I'm using both at this stage. But for my Kemper, yes, I've got one patch, which is the Praises Be Lifted Up. It's a patch that I bought from Tone Junkie, and I pretty much use the solo sound with the delays for almost all the time. I would I'll do a quill tap on my guitar if I want a cleaner sound. So let me just show you guys without changing anything. That's what it sounds like. But if I need a cleaner sound, then as you can see, that cleans up. And then I can go all the way dirty like that. So I I use my coil tap to turn my humbuckers to single coils, and I back my volume down just a little bit to clean up the sound. If I need a very clean sound, then I can go to one of my cleaner patches. So that's kind of my main go-to tone. And then I also have this ambient patch that I use all the time as well. So that's kind of the two patches that I'm using. That patch, there's a video on our YouTube channel that shows exactly how I dial in that ambient tone with all of the pre-delay and everything else in there. All right, so hopefully that answers your question there, Mike. And we've got Don also tuning in from Texas. Welcome, Don, great to see you. So to demonstrate, you guys now heard my tone. I'm gonna trigger a track here, and I'm just gonna turn my reverbs and my delays on and off. I've actually got 2 delays going, so I'll turn both off and then I'll do one on at a time, so you can just go ahead and see what difference that makes. So I'm just going to tap in my tempo. So yeah, that sounds cool, but now take all of that stuff off. It's very dry, right? Just a reverb on now. A little bit more, right? One of the delays on. And now the other delay on. So hopefully you could get a sense of, as I was playing, how the sound is changing when I added in those additional sounds, the reverb, the delay, and all those kind of things. And even towards the end, you could have heard I started playing some other things because that sound was inspiring to me, and I wanted to like experiment and kind of have some fun with those elements. So that is why tone is so important. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and check this out real quick. Let me just see. I am going to share my screen. So let me just prep my rig manager, because I want you to be able to see all the things that I'm actually using here. Let me just close that up, and then that's all fine, so that you guys can see this. So let's see if I go and add in this browser. Hopefully you guys should be able to see my rig manager right now, and what you can see in front of you. And I wonder if I should zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to be cutting off something if I zoom in a bit, but if we just want to go to the delays, etc. All right, so you should now see my rig manager. I'm going to make that just a little bit bigger and just to kind of get a sense of what you might be seeing. I wanted to show you, this is what I'm seeing for my tones, and what I've got dialed in here on my guitar is that Praises patch from Tone Junkie that I mentioned to you guys. It's using a matchless Spitfire type amp that they profiled. Really like the sound of that. But what you've got here now is, I'm just going to turn my dual delay off, and you can see the dual delay is disabled, and I'm going to turn my other delay off, and I'm going to turn my reverb off. So now you can see that, don't know if you can see my mouse. Let's see if I go to rig manager. Hopefully you see my mouse over there by the dual delay and by both of those have been turned off, so we can see down here that it's been disabled. So now I'm going to turn all of them back on, and we can see the lights come on, and now I actually have some settings down here for me to actually view. So what's going on here is, on this dual delay, first of all, we won't go through all the details of this, but there's a detailed video talking about the delays. But in this, we've got a couple of settings. So we've got note values, and I'll talk about that in a second. We've got feedback, and then we've got mix. So those are the main elements to really talk about. So let's quickly just talk about what those things are. I'm going to turn my one delay off and only go to the other delay. When you saw me, when the song started playing, I was tapping. And then this is what the sync is all about. So I wonder if you can see this somewhere on this. It doesn't look like it. But I tapped it with the track that I was playing. So it was kind of tapped at 78 beats a minute. And now that it means if I play one note like this, you can hear all the repeats. And it's a dual delay, right? So it tells me this is my note values. And there you can see it's a quarter, or sorry, an eighth and a dotted eighth. So what does that mean? Let's see if I can get quickly my metronome dialed in. I'll go there in a second. But basically, if you've got only eighth notes sounding on your playing, it's synced to my tempo. So that means every time I play a note, it's going to actually go ahead and subdivide the beats for me. So if here I'm at a dotted eighth and there I'm in a normal eighth. So that means if the beat goes like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, then what's happening here is, in fact, there's the tempo. So I can actually just change that to 78 beats a minute right now. Let's go in there, 78 beats a minute. I'm having some issues here dialing it in incorrectly. So let's just go with the 75 beats a minute. But basically, if this is my beat, 1, 2, and if it's eighth notes, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So for every beat, you're going to hear 2 notes. It's going to be 2 repeats. And when it's dotted eighth, it's going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. It basically becomes this bouncy sound. So that's, if you're looking to dial stuff in, that's what I would recommend, a dotted eighth sound. That's kind of like, U2, The Edge is very well known for that. So if you can, sync your delays and then choose your note value. All right. The second thing that you want to get good at or understanding is your repeats. And you can see that my repeats here are set to, let's just go into my settings here. My feedback, if I make that 100, like I've just done, the stuff is just not going to stop. And that is obviously way too much. So that's why if you turn that to about 66%, that's still a lot. All right, 66%. So your feedback is how long those delays are going to sound for. So your note values is what rhythms the delays will make. Feedback is how long will the delay sound for. And then finally, you have your mix, which is an important thing. Like this is my mix. If I make my mix 100%, then listen to this. You can't really hear my delay, my notes without delay. You're literally just hearing 100% of the delay and 0% of my dry sound. Whereas if I go 0 like this, and hopefully you can see the mix control change there with where my mouse is. If you go 0, then you're only going to hear the dry sound with a reverb. And if I then go to 50 or 60%, then you can see now you hear more of the delay. Those are the main settings that you want to play with on your playing when you are working with your delays. Make sure the tap tempo is set. Then choose what kind of rhythm do you want to use. Eighth notes and dotted eighth notes are cool. And then your feedback, how long should that delay continue repeating? And then the mix is how loud should my delays be. Those are the main settings that you want to focus on. Now you do get a few advanced settings on your delay. In this case, like I have a low cut filter. Let's go to the low cut filter over here. If I go ahead and I can see I'm cutting some lower frequencies. I've got a high cut filter. So that means on those delayed repeats, you can basically filter out some additional sounds. And then this particular delay has a bunch of extra features like a reverse mix. If I turn, let's just go to the reverse mix over here. Why is it? Sorry, I've got a, there's a thing on my screen that keeps coming back. So I'm just going to do it on the Kemper here. If I do a reverse mix at 100%, as you can hear, it's like reversing the delays. And if I go to 0, then you can hear the normal sound. So all these other things like the flutter rate and the modulation and chorus, that's some additional, more advanced settings that you have at your disposal when you are playing, when you are setting up your delays. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys that idea there, because then you can see, I'm going to play something again with a track. And let's see if I can, in the actual rig here, just set it for me real quick to the tempo that I want to be on, like exactly, because when you tap it, it's not going to be 100% with the beats a minute. So now I actually change that to 78 beats a minute to be right on the money there. I'm going to play more rhythmic stuff with a delay, and then just listen to how much more richness it actually adds to the playing. And let's see if I can zoom in on the guitar. I'll move the mic just a little bit out so you guys can see more of the guitar there. If I play that same track, I've got quite a pronounced delay happening here, but I'm going to have a more rhythmic approach. And then afterwards, we'll go and answer some questions. So Ryan, thanks. I saw your question. And we got Mark tuned in from Ohio, US as well. Welcome, Mark. And if any of you guys have any questions around tone, around anything in particular, you can go ahead and pop them in the questions, and we'll use the remaining of the lesson for the question stuff. So add in the other delay. Let's take the delay off, play that same idea. You see, that doesn't sound good, but if I add the delays and stuff back in, so it just adds in a lot of those additional kind of, it gives it some, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like if you have a nice dish and you've got some nice flavor in the dish and some nice spices and all those kind of things, it brings out more of the flavor, right? And what is the flavor? Like if you eat a piece of meat, it's going to have a flavor, but certain spices it will actually bring out some additional flavors. And that's really what delay and reverb is doing. It's bringing out the flavor of my guitar. It's giving me this backdrop to be a little bit more, play different ideas that have a bit more gravitas, if you want to give that word. It's the notes actually mean a little bit more, because it sounds cool. So that's why it's important to kind of get your delays dialed in. We didn't spend too much of the technical side of this because we did like almost a 30-minute video where I showed you the digital delay, analog delay, reverse delay, the different settings, talked about more in detail about your low cut, high cut frequencies, all those kind of things. So that's on the channel already for you. You can go ahead and check that out, and we go over all of those details. So I want to encourage you guys to remember those couple of things. Yes, we have our guitar and we have our equipment, regardless of what you're using. And some of us, myself included, will have certain budget constraints, right? That allows us to, like, what can and can't we afford? And don't let that ever get you down, because that is only one of the elements that's going to affect your tone. Remember, you also have your technique, which is probably one of the biggest factors. When you work on your technique, you can play with more confidence. Somebody with good technique will make average gear sound great, but someone with bad technique won't be able to sound good on great gear, right? So that good, bad, great, kind of moving those things around, it's going to give you that sense there. So number two, regardless of what gear you've got, first of all, whatever gear you've got, look after it, figure out where the settings are, what you can do, and all those kind of things. We've got a lot of videos on the channel helping you with that. Number two, work on your technique. That's going to improve your tone in leaps and bounds. Number three, kind of figure out, what is it, how do you use scales? How do you use voicings? Knowing what you want to play in that regard. And then, of course, just making sure that your heart attitude is in the right place, because that's also going to go ahead and affect your tone. So we've spoken about how you use your hands, your technique, how you use your head, understanding how things work on the guitar and musically, as well as on your gear. And then your heart attitude is going to determine what you play and how you play. All these things, going back to the beginning of today's video, it's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. And that is a way, regardless of what gear you've got or what your level as a guitarist is, we can make a meaningful contribution on a Sunday to celebrate the finished work of Jesus on the cross, to be in worship with our local community, corporate worship, and we can really make a sacrifice there that is a pleasing sound to God. And He's going to not judge that based on whether it's a Kemper or a Line 6 or some mega rig, that everyone's using. He's going to judge it on our heart and in terms of like how well we can minister to Him and doing all those kind of things. So hopefully that kind of makes sense, and it's an encouragement for you to, regardless of all those things, to go ahead and see what you can do. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and answer a couple of questions. So let's go, and we see Manuel saying, I really enjoy your lesson, Charles, but if I'm being honest, sometimes my favorite part of the video is just listening to you play to a track. Thanks again. That's very kind of you, Manuel. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. We'll definitely do some more jamming because, I also enjoy listening to people's playing, and it kind of shows us, inspires us to do things and see what's possible. So I'm the same. Enjoy listening to playing, and Mike Irving saying sounds good. We've had Mark tuning in from Ohio, and then wonderful. So let's dig into some questions. If you guys have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, I'm here for the next couple of minutes on the stream and happy to address those. So we've got Ryan Pond. He's saying, how do you have the level set on the delay to where it just adds more depth rather than a distinct delay? Blends in very well. I'm using a Boss Giga delay and a Jet Revelation. We also have a Jet Revelation. It's just not hooked up right now. I love what Junior and everyone is doing at Jet Pedals. So they've also released the Eternity delay as well. So we're looking forward to getting our hands on that one as well. But basically, to your question there is, and I talk about food a lot. for these analogies. But think about, if you are cooking a dish. The other day I made bacon carbonara for our family. It's one of the only dishes I can make, and basically it's just spaghetti, bacon, and some eggs that you mix in at the end, and then the eggs kind of cook themselves with the warm spaghetti and bacon. And but that's basically the dish, and then afterwards we put some cheese in there to kind of melt. Super simple, but if I don't get my salt right, then if I put too little salt on in the spaghetti when I cook it, then it doesn't have the right flavor. Yes, I can put more salt on after the dish, but it's different. And if I put too much salt in that spaghetti, then again it's going to be too salty, and the dish is just not going to work. So it's kind of the same with your delay, and I guess that's what you're asking, is how do I set that delay so that it just adds depth rather than being very kind of in your face. So you can kind of use that analogy as it relates to the food thing that we spoke, and in terms of how much you want to do. So what I would do in that case is I'll probably exit. Let's listen to which one of these delays is more pronounced. So this is my first delay. It's not very loud, so I'm going to leave that one on. Here's my second one. You guys can hopefully hear that it's quite pronounced. So if I now go into that, I won't pull up Rig Manager again, but I'm just going to play with my mix here. My mix right now is at 61%. I'm going to go all the way to 0. I'll jam with this track again a little bit, and then I'm going to go from 0, eventually I'll get to 100, and then you'll hear obviously at 100 it's not going to work. But yeah, let's listen to this. So 0. %. Not quite enough. 48%. Nice, but it can do with more. 62%. %. Too much. %, way too much. That's like too much salt. 60%. So you can see when I just play with my mix, that's going to be how loud that delay is in, and that's going to kind of be about like how much salt I'm putting in a dish. Or if you have sushi, right, how much wasabi is going to be in your soy sauce when you have your sushi, how much any case, you guys get the gist of that. So that's the mix is very important. Make sure it's in tempo and that you've chosen your right subdivisions, and then just play with your feedback, because that's another thing. If my mix is right in this instance, but if my feedback is set to 100%, then obviously it's too much as well. So it's basically that blend between your feedback and your mix. So that is what I would recommend for you guys to check out. If any of you have a Line 6 Helix We've got a bunch of patches on our store at worshipguitarskills.com. You'll be able to find a link there somewhere. But then we've kind of dialed in the parameters, not just given you a nice meat and potato sound, but we've also dialed in the parameters. So if you have some nice patches, you can also go ahead and check out how those are dialed in. So Ryan, hopefully that makes sense to your question. I think you got a follow-up here. What is your advice for having overdrive, like the Tube Screamer, on with reverb and delay? Your overdrive sounds absolutely killer. Thank you, I appreciate that. If you want to see what I do with my actual sound and how I break it down, there's also a video on our YouTube channel, and it's called, I forget what it's called, but if you read it, you'll see the title where I just break down my exact tone. But what are my thoughts about that? So, when there's drive on a sound, there's a couple of things that does for me. It kind of makes it sound a little bit woolly. It adds some grit to the sound, and therefore it doesn't sound so clinical. Because if I have a super clean tone, let's just go to my tuner, for example. Let's go to the tuner, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn on this tuner. Let me just see. I don't have my floorboard connected here, so can I go into just a tuner here? Yes, I can. Okay, there we go. So now if I'm in this sound, okay, so the Kemper is actually killing the sound automatically for me. I thought I could go with just a tuner like that. So we won't be able to hear that, but let's just say if I go to, go back to my browser, and let's just see. So here's a clean sound without any, it's a matchless C30. But this sound kind of sounds like, might be a nice funky sound, like it's not bad for that type of thing. But if I'm going to play on a track like this, it's going to sound bad. Listen to this. Doesn't sound good, right? And because the sound is too clinical. And I really like a sound that has got some of the grit on it, because it can cut through the mix a little bit better. And for me, yeah, it just works better when your sound has a little bit of that. So how do you do that? Well, here's what I can say, Ryan, is for me, there are some bands, and specifically in the rock bands type of situation, that just have some real epic riffs, and when you actually go and listen to those guitar players, most of the time, some of the guitar tones that I really liked growing up as a guitarist, when I actually go and listen to them, they are not that distorted. So there's a difference between distortion and gain and overdrive. So you used overdrive there for like a Tube Scream and so forth. That's what I prefer. It's like that edge of breakup sound when you crank a valve amp, and it just adds these on the guitar, we have these overtones and we have these harmonics and all these kind of things. It brings out that richness for the guitar. So I don't tend to go to like a distortion side. I'm more on the overdrive side, and then I just kind of add enough to it so that it's still, what's the word I'm looking for? The clarity is still there. And even that sounds like a sound that might be a little bit too dirty for church. But it's all about how I'm playing it. So because I'm never playing it, like that type of stuff, or like, that's obviously a very different style of playing. But I'm playing with a dirty tone, but I'm trying to, and it just adds more weight to the notes. So it adds that grit. So again, for that, in my tone, I've got I don't have my floorboard connected yet, but I've got a boost in my signal chain that drives the amp a little bit louder. So whenever you have something, whether it's a real valve amp or it's a thing like a Kemper or like the Line 6 Helix or any of those devices that mimic valve amps really well. If you can bring some of that character out without it sounding distorted and dirty. So there's that point when you guys heard me do the delay, when it became too much. There's a point when you have too much salt on a dish, and there's a point when you have too much drive. So for me, I know the drive starts to be getting a little bit too much when I lose the clarity. But when I have that combination of clarity, but it's still got that grit and a bit of a bite, on the sound, then it's something that I know is going to cut through. So that's kind of how I like to look at that, Ryan. Thank you for the compliment there, and it's just basically finding that sweet spot. So hopefully that works well, and Ryan is tuning in from Jacksonville, Florida. Hope you guys are good with all the crazy weather you've had over the recent times. Sparky is tuning in from Texas. Hey, Sparky. And then Mark in the mix is saying, I use delay and reverb settings that are in one of your videos, and I'm happy with that for a month or so now. Oh, wonderful. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I'll quickly see if I can find the name of that video. Then I can tell you guys where to go if you want to go and check it out. But yeah, I'm going to find it here now. Let me just go to videos on my channel, and then you'll be able to find that, where I did a whole breakdown on this main tone that I've been using today. Always when I need to find stuff at the drop of a hat, it takes a bit of time. So there's that. The one is called ambient guitar tone for worship, when I broke down my actual big ambient tone. And then there's another one called revealed, my worship guitar tone. If you guys want to go and check that one out, revealed my worship guitar tone, I'll go ahead and put the link in the description once we jump off here. So, and then in the delay settings, I think in that one I showed the exact delay settings where it was a dual delay, all those kind of things. So you'll be able to see that and then go and use those settings. And that's really, Mark, what I did as well. Is I grabbed other people's, who I thought, okay, cool, they make good patches, like HW from Tone Junkie. Everything I've bought from him, I think I own pretty much most of the stuff that they've released. So they do a great job. And then I just go and look at like what was the settings like, and then from there I've got a nice bed, and then I can go and tweak that a little bit, right? And then also reverse engineer. Like this sound, when I first kind of got into this sound, I then got the tone, and then I reverse engineered it, and I saw okay, there's this pre-delay that's working with a reverb, and I could actually see how it's done. So when you deconstruct it, then you have a good ability to actually go ahead and then go and make it your own. So yeah, Mark, that's what I do. And Manuel said I've inspired him to get a Line 6 when he can afford it. Yeah, awesome. I've used Line 6 stuff. I remember the kidney pod, that was in 2002. So over 20 years ago. That's like a vintage piece of gear now, even though it's digital and does all the, algorithmic stuff and whatnot. But yeah, I've used Line 6 for a long time. It's a really great brand. I like their stuff a lot, and I really enjoy the quality of the effects, specifically on the Line 6 Helix. So trusting with you for whatever financial breakthrough you need, and so that you can go ahead and grab one of those. The other reason I'm a fan of something like a Line 6 Helix or a Kemper Profiler, or Kenan's got the HX Stomp with a few other bits and pieces, for me, it got rid of the gear acquisition syndrome. Is it the greatest and the best thing out there? Well, I mean, that even is the wrong question to ask, because it's about your tastes. But what the Kemper or the Line 6 did for me is I can dial in all the sounds that I need. I don't have to go and buy, and because I had a big pedal board with all the Strymon Timeline and the Big Sky and all the JHS pedals and a Bosch switcher, and I had all the stuff. But when I got to Kemper, I just started selling these off slowly but surely, because I just don't have the need to buy any more gear. If at all, I'll probably go ahead and buy more guitars. And one thing that I do add on top of my Kemper and my Line 6 is the jet pedals, just because Junior, they actually make the pedals specifically for worshippers. So then, I might pick up those, but it's not a case of this hunt for tone anymore. It's understanding, get gear that's good enough work on my technique, my hands, work on my understanding, how to choose my notes, and make sure my heart is right, because then I'm going to show up and I'll be able to, make a good difference there. And then Mike is asking, are you able to explain the differences between delay being before or after the amp, and maybe if there's a practical use for one or after the other? Yeah, for me it's simple. On the Kemper, the way that they set the Kemper up is you basically have your amp block as your amp, and then you have stuff before the amp and stuff after the amp, and you can obviously move things around. So you can put a delay before the amp or, after the amp. But for me, just real quick, Sparky Crow is saying the pedals for worshippers, that's jetpedals.com. Junior from jetpedals.com. So they make worship specific pedals. If you want to check them out, we'll also throw the link in our description, and there's a code if you want to use it to get some discount. But yeah, love what they're doing there. And we'll get them on one of our episodes and to kind of chat tone with Junior. But I prefer to have my delay at the end, because what's happening is, and even with this, it's got two dual delays, this tone. So the one delay is happening. I'll quickly show you guys. Here's nothing now. No delay. Okay. This is a dual delay. All right, sorry guys, I just want to quickly go out here and go back in so I can just reset my settings. Okay. So here's there's that delay, and then there's a second one, and then there's my reverb. So you have to be careful when you do that, because the first delay is making the effect. Then those delays are going into the second delay. So now it's delaying the delays. And then the delayed plus the delay delays is going into the reverb. So now it's adding in the reverb. So you're kind of adding these things after each other. So I like that to be after the amp, because then I'm getting kind of the sound is different, rather than actually delaying the sound and then going into the amp block. So for me, that's a preference. Most guitar players tend to like the wet effects like that, because then you can do all these things like I mentioned. So again, it's a preference. Play around with it. If you have a device like this where you can move it, or if you have your pedal before, or going into the amp or in the effects loop, those are preferences, and there's going to be some subtle differences. And one thing I might mention here as we're starting to wrap today, we said here in the beginning, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And what is the thing behind that? What is how someone's communication makes us feel, or how our communication makes someone else feel, right? So there's a feeling to this. So tone is not just what you hear, but tone is how it feels when you play it. That's one of the things that I must admit. I miss having an amp on stage that moves all that air, and it just feels different, and that's awesome. It's not practical. Most churches these days are like in-ear monitors and those kind of things, so it's not really something that you can do there, but it has a different feeling to it. It's responsive. It responds to what you're doing, etc. So depending on where you put your delay, it's going to have a different feeling, not just the sound, but how it feels. So that's why it's important to go ahead and work on your tone based on what it sounds like, as well as how it feels. So that's kind of one of the decisions I make there. So with having experimented, I just know that I prefer it after that. Chris Foster is asking, how do you make sure your volume levels are consistent from patch to patch? Yeah, so I tend to use mostly one patch, so I don't have too many different patches, but if I do them, then I practice, and I put my gear into a DAW, a digital audio workstation, and I just look at where the meters are hitting. So if it always goes to -12 or -10 or whatever, I try and get it to always hit the same level. So then I know it's a bit more of a methodical way of looking at my tones. And then obviously when you go and play on a Sunday, when it's actually louder throughout the PA, then I can ask the sound guy, listen, when I go through these different patches, are the levels consistent for you, and what does it show like up on your meter? So then I might make an additional tweak there. And using a compressor for all of your tones and your patches is another good idea, because then that compressor kind of helps your tone to be a bit more consistent as well. So Chris, that's how I do that. So Mike is asking a good question here. Please explain why paying for worship guitar skills is better than watching your free YouTube videos. That's a great question, Mike. So, yeah, let's see, how do we address that? So what Mike is referring to is at Worship Guitar Skills, we also have an academy. I hardly ever talk about it, right? I should probably tell more people that we have that. It's normally in the description, and sometimes we do a plug for it. And if you're on our email list, we'll tell you about it. And we have webinars and stuff like that where we talk about it. But basically, our Worship Guitar Skills Academy, we have what we call the Worship Guitar Mastery Coaching Program. And it consists of 3 things: community, curriculum, and coaching. So that is pretty much the main differences there, Mike. Most of the stuff that we do, it's on our YouTube channel. If you can't afford to join the actual Worship Guitar Mastery Coaching Program, all of our stuff is here free. I believe in giving, But then in addition to that, some people feel, all right, wow, this is awesome, Charles. I love that video you did on the 4/2 voicings and that stuff on tone and the tracks and everything, but I would like to have a more structured approach to learning. So that's where the curriculum comes in. So we have a detailed tone workshop and a triads workshop and a scales workshop and a rhythm workshop and a fretboard mastery course. So we've got structured curriculum that's not just one video, but it's so for people who want more structure in the curriculum. Secondly, we have coaching. So we have calls like this on Fridays, but on Zoom, and some people watch it on a site or on our app. And then they can ask me questions, like we have Antti here and Manuel, one of our members. So a lot of our members also catch these shows that we do on Thursdays. So, but some people like the coaching component. So they like to film a video of themselves playing, get feedback from me and other people in the group, or ask a question about how do I do this or that, or whatever the case may be. So then there's the coaching part of it, where it's not just go through the lessons, but they can play and they can ask questions and stuff, and I respond to those. We have those every Friday for an hour. One week is Australian friendly time zone, and the other week is the North American friendly time zone. And then finally, it's community. So we have a forum where people can chat with each other. We have an app on the phone. You can chat with each other there and those kind of things. For example, one of our members from Australia recently had a business trip, and he made a stopover in Finland to have an in-person meetup. And then we have another one of our members from Rave who will be coming to South Africa for a different trip, and he's going to come and say hi to us here in J-Bay. So that's the third component, is community. So it's kind of a space that takes care of those 3 C's: curriculum, coaching, and community. And the reason we make that paid is obviously, we're renting a studio here in town. We've got a bunch of gear. We've got Kenan, our video editor, and Christy putting together our site and making sure all those things are working, and Amy taking care of the tech, and we've got people working on the social stuff. So in any case, it's a team, and that's where we then go ahead and make that additional available. So if you want to find out more about that, you're welcome. If you're happy with all the YouTube videos that we are doing specifically for worship players, then obviously that is what that is there for as well. So Mike, thank you for that question. Hopefully that's all clear. And then Sparky Crow is saying, I'm grateful when I catch you online soon. Please hold another lesson on triads. I've learned the 3 positions of the C, G, D, and E minor from you. I just use them at men's night. Wonderful. All right, I'm happy to hear that. Triads are so powerful, so we'll definitely do some more lessons on that. You're welcome. That's another thing also in the academy. People can make requests, and some of the coolest stuff that we've done has been based on what people have asked for, and then go and created that. But so thank you for asking. We'll definitely do that, more of that. And then Mark is asking, do I run anything in the loop of my Kemper? I've thought of adding a delay like the Jet or the Andy Timmons Keeley pedal. I'm running a Dimension C right now. Yeah, I actually, when I throw the Revelation reverb, that goes into my X slot, which is similar like a loop. So then I can turn that on and off with my controller. And if I use a drive and those kind of things, then I can put them into that slot as well. So I do that sometimes, yes. by adding that into the loop, and then I can have an opportunity for when I want to add them or take them away, which is a cool way to, just make the sound your own and then add some additional bits and pieces to that. So that's how we do it, 100%. Well, guys, it's always a time warp when we have these That Worship Guitar Show episodes, as well as like our coaching calls on Friday. The time just goes like this. So hopefully it's been the same for you. Time flies when you're having fun, they say. I love doing these sessions with you. And I just wanted to encourage you guys, keep going and keep making the main thing, and remembering why we do this. If we can create these moments where people can experience God's love and His touch and being experiencing His presence, that has eternal value and eternal change. So we get to use, we love guitar, we love gear, we love all these fun things, and we get to use that gift and talent that God has given us and to give it back to Him and to the kingdom and to the local community. So I just want to encourage you, keep going at it, doing your best. You don't get the first place for playing guitar. It's just about, are you using this tool and this gift to express your love for God and to do that together in corporate worship with others. So want to encourage you guys, keep going for it. And I also want to commend you for taking time out of your schedule. First of all, thank you for joining us here, watching our videos, but thank you for investing in yourself and for making that a priority. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And Sparky Crow, thank you for that. God bless you too. And Phil White is saying many thanks from England. And we've got Kengo Taku, greetings from Japan. God bless. God bless you guys, and much love to you. Hope to see more of you guys on the streams. There's a ton of videos on our channel. Go and dig in. If we can help you in any way, shape, or form, I don't know if I'll be able to find this right now, but let me see if I can quickly get it, just to let you know. If you want to sign up for notifications for when we do these things, you can go to thatworshipguitarshow.com and you can sign up there. You will then be able to, you'll get an email from us welcoming you, and you can reply to that email, which is really shoal@worshipguitarskills.com. And if you have any questions that you want us to address on future episodes, you can just go to worshipguitarskills.com/questions, and then we'd be able to go ahead and answer that for you to make sure that you guys are taken care of with that. And Gengo Taku, let me just go and remove this other one from the stream here right now. He's asking, can I recommend an affordable reverb pedal? So it obviously depends on affordable, what your range is, but my recommendation is always going to be the Revelation Reverb. They've just brought out a new one from Jet Pedals. We'll go ahead and put a link in the description. The reason I like it, it's simple to use, it's got digital brains, but it's got an analog way of using it, and it's very good for worship pedals, so and for worship sounds. So that's what I would recommend. As soon as we hop off here, I'll go ahead and put that for you guys in the description. Much love to you and your family. Have an awesome week if you're playing this Sunday. Hope you have great fun in the presence of the Lord. And thank you guys for showing up, for spending some time with me and the team here today. Much love to you. Have a great one. And we'll see you guys on future episodes. And of course, every Tuesday we publish videos, as you probably know by now. Much love. Have a great one and chat soon.